I was probably around 8, maybe 9 years old when I got my first camera, and it was one just like this. What I remember most about this camera was that I kept forgetting to advance the film in between snaps, and double exposures were the rule, not the exception. It's possible that this picture was taken with that camera, and the camera that I'm holding, I have no idea where it came from or whose it is. Now this camera I got when I was about 10, and I did take a lot of pictures with it. This camera I got when I was about 12, very common camera, just about everybody had one of these, and I think this picture was taken with it. That's me. The first quality camera that I ever got my hands on was my dad's Fujica 35 SE, just like the one you see pictured here. And I can still remember the first day that I got my hands on it. I remember being so impressed by the light meter. I think I would have been about 14 then. Anyway, the first quality camera that I had that was my own was this 35mm Petri. It was just like the one you see pictured here. But I do recall thinking that the quality was not that of the Fujica, and I don't think I had it too long, maybe 2 years. It was in 1962 that I saw my very first SLR. It was an Exacta, and the fellow that owned it, he wanted a Nikon real bad, and the Nikon F Photomatic had just come out, and he had brochures on it, and I can still remember drooling over those brochures. This was over 50 years ago now. We'll talk more about Nikon at the end of this video. It was in 1964 that I got my very own first SLR. It was a Pentax SV, just exactly like the one you see pictured here. I got it from Mr. Wells in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and Mr. Wells gave it to me on credit. I remember I only had about half as much money as I needed at that time. I think it was only around $150, and he gave me credit, and I did pay him back when I got my summer job. At that time, the light meter was separate on most SLRs, and mine looked exactly like that. In the fall of 1965, I got a Speed Graphic, exactly as the one you see pictured here, and it was an old camera then already. It produced 4x5" negatives, and I used that enlarger that you see me standing beside to make the prints. Now, without question, the best quality camera I ever had was this Leica M4, and I had 2 bodies, and I think I had 4 lenses. And the light meter you see on the top there, from what I remember, it wasn't very accurate. It wasn't long, and I got a bad case of buyer's regret. Now, when I used a fine grain film, and I believe it was called Panatomic X, and I used Microdol to develop that film in, and I'd end up with a real good negative, almost as sharp as a large format camera, but the camera just wasn't versatile. Not like an SLR. Now, even back in those days, I was big into woodworking as well, and I made a special custom case for all that Leica equipment. In 1968, or maybe 69, I got a Konica Autoreflex T, and then I think it was in 73, I upgraded to the Konica T3, and that T3 I had for over 40 years. That was a good camera. I think it was around 2006, 2007 maybe, I stopped using my Konica and finally went digital. And I got this Kodak Z740. And I've still got it today, even though I haven't used it for a few years. For about the last 2 or 3 years I went through this point and shoot phase. And I guess I was impressed with the idea that you could pull the thing out of your shirt pocket and take a reasonably good picture. Then I upgraded to this one here because it took high definition video, and it did take high definition video, and it was pretty good as long as it stayed in focus, but the focusing used to wander, and boy, that was annoying. You know, I really miss my old Konica for ease of use. You want to focus it, you turn a ring. You want to change the f-stop, you turn a ring. You want to change the shutter speed, just turn the knob. You know, everything was really easy to set. And these point and shoots, well, you can forget that. You got to go through a whole bunch of menus, and by the time you get something adjusted, your subject's gone or the sun has gone down. Remember I was telling you about that guy over 50 years ago who had that Exacta, but he wanted a Nikon? Well, I finally got my Nikon, and I'm going to try it out for a couple of months and try and get used to it. I really like it so far. It reminds me a lot of the Konica. It's very easy to adjust. and I'll do a review on it in a couple of months. Watch for that review, and I hope you enjoyed this.